sticks by the governor's decision is against the constitution is the reason Stalin is cited for not listening to the governor right now. Pramod Madhav is joining us with more details on this. Pramod, very, very clearly now Chief Minister Stalin digging in his heels. They made it clear legally, politically, constitutionally, in any way, they're going to be fighting the governor right now.
Absolutely, Akshita. One thing is like the DMK has not given an explanation is that why Senthil Balaji has to continue as a minister without portfolio in the council, but they have made it very clear just because the governor has said that Senthil Balaji has been dismissed, it doesn't mean that Senthil Balaji will not be a part of the Council of Ministers of the state of Tamil Nadu. In fact, the governor earlier in his letter, it was a 4-page letter where he stated that he has used the powers under Articles 153, 163 and 164. However, there were also certain words where the governor has said that the earlier letter communication between the chief minister and the governor also was very sour because he said that the chief minister's letter was inflammatory and intemperate words were used. We did put forward this question to the other ministers as well, where Minister Thangam Thenarase explained that the chief minister will never do such a thing. So this is a kind of a heated argument exchange that has been occurring involving Senthil Balaji alone. But right now the state has made it very clear that they are going to disregard the governor's decision. However, governor has himself put it on abeyance, waiting opinion from the Attorney General, Akshita.
All right, so it's very clear that Chief Minister Stalin is saying he will not dismiss Senthil Balaji as demanded by the governor. This is becoming an ego battle also, clearly. Thanks very much, Pramod, for joining us with those details. But there was unprecedented drama that played out in Tamil Nadu yesterday, as last evening at about 7 p.m. is when the governor shot off his first letter to Chief Minister Stalin. This issue has been brewing for the last 1 month. But Governor Ravi made it clear to the Chief Minister this time around that he is going to go ahead and dismiss Senthil Balaji. So that letter was in fact issued at 7 p.m. Then you had the next letter at 11:45, where he said that the dismissal be kept in abeyance. He said that this was based on the directions from the MHA and directly from Home Minister Amit Shah. And he says we have to seek legal opinion. What really led to that U-turn by the governor? How did the state government react? Let's get you all those details.
It's non-stop twists and turns in the Tamil Nadu government versus governor fight. And the tussle this time is over tainted DMK man Senthil Balaji. Weeks after his dramatic arrest and subsequent hospitalization, the state CM MK Stalin and Governor RN Ravi have been shooting letters back and forth over Senthil Balaji's role in the cabinet. And things came to a head on Thursday night when the governor cited his powers to dismiss Balaji as a minister.
The governor issued a statement claiming that Senthil Balaji has been removed from the Council of Ministers, citing that he has abused his power and tried to hinder with the investigation of the charges against him by ED and Tamil Nadu police.
The letter set the cat among the pigeons in the DMK, with CM Stalin immediately making it clear they would fight this out in the Supreme Court. And then came another unexpected twist. The governor retracted his decision, saying he would first consult the AG and get a legal opinion, sparking an all-out fight.
The Honorable Chief Minister has rightly disregarded his letter, has rightly shown the place where it has to be. According to us, one need not get an advice from the Attorney General. If you read the Constitution Article 164, that is itself is sufficient, and the judgments of the Supreme Court.
DMK has put posters across Tamil Nadu depicting the various cases against several BJP leaders, asking if Governor Ravi will write to Delhi seeking their removal.
The actions of the governor are untenable. The governor has no business to pass the order what he has passed. He is undermining the constitution. He is acting like a clown. It is clear that his actions are intentional.
The whole of Tamil Nadu knows Mr. Senthil Balaji is a corrupt minister. The whole of Tamil Nadu knows he continuing in the cabinet is definitely not the right thing. The whole of Tamil Nadu expects the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu to remove Mr. Senthil Balaji from the cabinet.
With politics speaking, there's a raging debate on the governor's move. Can he dismiss a minister?
More than going into the technical and legal nitty-gritty, do we want to have some morality in the public life or not?
With the face-off escalating, the DMK is now upping the ante for the resignation of the governor. With Pramod Madhav and Shilpa Nair, Bureau Report, India Today.
I want to bring in now on this broadcaster Anisha Mathur to explain for us the legal context also of this. Anisha, good evening. In previous instances of this kind of a government versus governor fight, have there been any cases that kind of point towards which direction this particular fight could go as far as dismissal of a minister is concerned?
Well, Akshita, first of all, we've seen that the way the governor of Tamil Nadu has issued a letter saying that I'm removing Senthil Balaji as a minister is an unprecedented situation. Just last year, when the then governor of Kerala, Arif Muhammad Khan, had said similarly that he was withdrawing his pleasure from one of the ministers in the Kerala government, even at that time, what had been said is that the governor cannot make such a decision without the concurrence of the chief minister. Now look at what the constitution says, look at what the legal precedents say. A governor can recommend the removal of the government of the state if they recommend to the president that an emergency must be imposed because the government is not functioning properly because there's a constitutional crisis. That of course is the right of the governor. But when it comes to appointment or removal of a minister, the power of the governor and the power of the president, both of them are circumscribed constitutionally by the aid and advice of the chief minister. Now, even Article 164, which is being constantly talked about, says that the chief minister shall serve at the pleasure of the governor, and the minister shall be appointed by the governor on the aid and advice of the chief minister. We've seen multiple Supreme Court judgments and High Court verdicts which say that while the pleasure of the governor is there, that pleasure of the governor or the discretion is not his sole discretion. It has to depend on the aid and advice of the chief minister.
Aid and advice there are perhaps the most important words.
Why the Home Ministry had to intervene and ask the governor to speak to the Attorney General.
Yes, aid and advice there, extremely important words, which in this case simply didn't count. Thanks very much, Anisha, for joining us on this broadcast. The question everyone's asking right now is whether Governor RN Ravi was within his powers or could actually go ahead and dismiss a minister in this manner, keeping in mind the circumstances, keeping in mind that he is someone who faces very serious corruption allegations. I'm joined now on 6 p.m. Prime by Ms. Kiran Bedi, former Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, so someone who's been in this situation, someone who knows the protocol and the rules that govern the role of a governor. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us here on India Today. First of all, I want your reaction on Governor Ravi's action of going ahead and dismissing a minister, and this without consulting the chief minister, without the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers.
Well, we have enough of legal judgments on this, on the what is the meaning of aid and advice of the chief minister. But the question is, let's turn this debate a little around and say what has compelled the governor to take this action, knowing very well that the aid and advice is important. What has compelled him? Under what circumstances is he doing it? What is the problem with dealing with public servants? By the way, elected representatives are also public officials.
Sure.
But in this country, we have two sets of systems in dealing with these kind of criminal irregularities. Look at the public official. He's bound under the Civil Services Code. And if a public official from the services like this, for instance, a person like me, I'm an appointed person, and if I commit something like this and I'm arrested and I'm even in judicial custody, gone in, what would happen to me? I'm also a public official. I'm also a public servant. The elected representative was also a public servant by definition. But the treatment meted to the irregularities and criminal activities of the two are different. There are two sets. So let's turn this debate a little around. What has compelled, under what circumstances has the governor done it? The fact is, governor has done it. And I think the legal courts will decide now that the attorney general will come back to him whether he could do it or he couldn't. And if he does it, then the courts of law will judge it whether what he did was right or wrong. Did he exercise his discretion? But in this case, let's turn it around, as I said. What has compelled the governor to do it? To my mind, the problem lies in the way we are dealing with public officials. We've created two sets of public officials, while the definition of public official is almost the same, because here are those people serving the public. One is appointed, the other is elected. One is temporary, the other is almost permanent unless he's dismissed. The second is elected, but every 5 years he goes back to the people to be re-elected and win their trust. Indian Penal Code, CRPC, Evidence Act, Corruption Act, all apply to a term called public servant.
No.
Whereas he too is a public servant because he's meeting the same cause. But if he's violating the very oath of office, which was to uphold the integrity of the Constitution and integrity in behavior, I think what has happened, to my mind, what has compelled the governor to do this is morality and ethics. And the law will decide, law will come. But I think the morality and ethics. Why? Because here was a person who has been accused of severe criminal irregularities. And he's still in the government. It continues to be in the government. Will this happen to an appointed public official? No. He would have been suspended minimum.
Fair point.
Here, this man is not even suspended. And he continues to be part of the government. And that the chief minister has not taken any action against him. Not taken it. So when he also is not taking any action, I want to ask a question. Who does? Who deals with? You might say, ma'am, he won't get re-elected. 5 years is a long time. Will you give 5 years to a public servant who's appointed? Will you give? Why does this country of ours, and by the way, the Constitution actually is making this, as actually the Indian Constitution has not included elected representative in the definition of the public servant. And I think that's where we went probably wrong.
You've raised an important point and a larger question that obviously has to be addressed. But you look at this particular issue, ma'am, constitutionally, the governor, sure, out of, his own sense of morale can act. But he's also guided by the Constitution. He's also guided by what he can and cannot do. We have courts, for example, maybe to deal with the situation that you're referring to.
I think he's exercised an ethical and moral prerogative. Now, whether it is legal or not, let the legal pundits debate it. But I think here is a man who has exercised his moral and ethical power and situation. I think that's what he's done. And he's been brave enough to do this. He's been brave. Instead of asking what has compelled the governor to do this, we are asking why has he done it? He was bound by the aid and advice. Why has he done it? I'm asking you, under what circumstances has he done it? Why is the Indian Constitution giving a different set of standards for an elected representative? And why is the Indian Constitution? And why haven't we questioned it? We don't have an independent, you might just say, what can we do? I think this country needs an independent ombudsman.
Sure.
Because the political parties themselves don't have ombudsman in their own systems. If they had ombudsman, then why would they at least not have suspended him? Why could they not even have suspended him when he is being taken to task by the enforcement director? And they have evidence against him. Otherwise, why would he go and get into judicial custody? Because judicial custody is done after whatever evidence you have,
sure,
the courts have assessed it.
You've raised a very valid question, yes, about why there's no action against Senthil Balaji despite the serious allegations against him. But when you talk about an ombudsman, can that be the governor? Why does that have to be the governor? Considering, of course, that in this particular case, while you're saying that the motive could be that nobody was acting, so he had to act, what if that motive is different? What if it stems from political vendetta like the DMK alleges?
My friend, I think we are mistrusting now everybody. Problem is all trust. We don't trust EDs. We don't trust anybody of our own. We don't. But the question is, why should they be? They're both in public service. Elected representative and an appointed person. Both. But if the criminality, same kind of corruption allegations are against a public servant, he would have been suspended by now. But when it comes to an elected representative, he continues to be in government. And the chief minister does not dismiss him. The party does not disown him. And election commission doesn't come in. Courts looking at whether the governor had the power to do it. But people have elected him. People do not have an organized body which takes them to task except to vote him out after 5 years, public memory being short. I think that's where we have probably gone very weak. We need to address this issue. What is it that, thank God, let's say, I think instead of wondering why has the government done it, the governor done it, I would say why wouldn't he? Why should he not? He's the one who actually swears them in. He's the head of the administration. He's the protector of the constitution. As a lieutenant governor, I swore, I remember, to protect the integrity of the constitution.
Considering that you're also speaking about how your term as Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry was, ma'am, would you have taken a similar decision? Would you have done exactly what Governor Ravi is doing now?
The question here is, I'm asking you whether I would have done it or not is not the issue. That the courts will decide, for governor, courts will decide, I cannot. I'm not a legal pundit. I'm saying this governor has dared to exercise the moral and ethical authority as the head of the administration. This is what he's done. Now, whether it's legal or not, the courts will decide. But what he's done as a head of the administration, where a person alleged to have dealt with corrupt measures, not dismissed by the chief minister, not taken to task by the political party, people of the power, people electorate have no powers, they're not organized. Court come in much later. It will take, and even if he was charged, he would have still continued to be in government. Question is, why do we have two kinds of standards? Both are meeting a public purpose. Both are in public service. I think that's a question to ask. What's not right? What's not right with the system? Why had the governor to do this? Knowing that he needs to consult, or maybe he took a chance that he could exercise his discretion to take care of the morality and ethics of public administration. This is what my real challenge is. Now, there is always a conflict in an administrator, is look at the law and look at the interpretation of the law, and law is not minus morality. Law is never minus ethics. Law is never minus larger justice. Law is never against larger good of public administration. That's what I think I would look at. I'm turning your debate a little upside down.
Ma'am, many would say the law is the law and you can't ignore it. And the fact is that the governor took this decision, it seems, without taking any legal opinion, without consulting even the AG, which is why in a matter of 4 hours, he then changed his decision. Why do you think that is? Where did that come from?
As I said, he had both these options. He had 3 options. He could have referred the matter to the Honorable President of India. 1, he's done what he's done. Third, he could have taken legal opinion prior. But the fact that he has done it himself, what are these compelling ethical and moral standards? And I think the compulsion has been that here is a man who is neither being dismissed by the chief minister, nor continuing to be in government in the salary of the government, which is public money. So I think he had 3 choices. He's exercised one. Let the courts decide. But I think we need to ask a basic question. Why are 2 kinds of standards for 2 kinds of people, both serving public? One elected, the other unelected. I think, do we have lack of systems? Yes, we have. Political parties don't have ombudsman. People don't have an ombudsman. Courts, they said, well, tell the courts decide. They hang on. But basically, they are violating the very oath of office.
If you look at the situation in Tamil Nadu, it's not something new. We've seen it in several other states. When you were the Lieutenant Governor in Puducherry as well, you had several run-ins, man, with the elected government there. Is it difficult to strike some sort of a balanced relationship between the governor and government? Is that why we see so many face-offs in these states?
I think that very big challenge is the rising corruption in the elected representatives, and that you do not have systems to deal with them faster. because governors are going by aid and advice strictly or interpreting. And I tell you, it's quite a challenge for any governor which is a witness to mass corruption or a corruption at a particular minister and yet feel helpless. I think that's the real challenge, because the challenges governors may be facing today are this: answering their own conscience. Do they just hang on to their seats, to their positions, or do they deal on? Because after all, it's a larger public good for which they are there. They may be politically appointed, but they are here as heads of administration. They're number one citizen of the state as a state governor. And they are also responsible equally, not to be onlookers to a mass corruption, but also to deal with it. So people also have a right to ask, what is the governor doing? Why is the governor not taking action? Now, here's the governor who has taken action. We are asking, why have you done? Why don't we find out what's the missing link between what the governor does and what the chief minister can do? And when it's publicly known, here's a particular minister who has committed financial irregularities in whatever he does, and there are criminal allegations against him. And that he continues to be on public money rule. I think these are the real challenges. So he has exercised, I think, his moral obligation, his ethical obligation, and it is legal or not, which I think the courts alone will decide. And this is a moral dilemma which any governor with a loud conscience has faced. I too did face. What do I do with somebody I know is land grabbing? I know is violating. I know is siphoning money. I know. What do I do? And that's where we had our own challenges to face.
Sure.
But this is the ultimate which the governor of Tamil Nadu does. So I think he's exercised a moral and an ethical responsibility as a head of the state administration. Whether it's legal or not, courts will decide. And I think it's important. But the courts must look at what's the vacuum. Why is there a dilemma? Why don't we have ombudsman in political parties? Why don't we have ombudsman in the state where such allegations can also go to an independent ombudsman, which comprises of independent people who can look at and then at least suspend the person, if not dismiss, so that he gets an equal right to defend himself, just as a public servant appointed also has a right to defend and get suspended. Why not at least suspend? But the question is, who will suspend? Chief Minister will not. Political party will not. Right? The people will not. Then who will? Question is, who checks the growing corruption in public life? And remember, they are in vital positions, even though they're 5 years. It's a vital position which governs the exchequer of the state, the policies and fate and destiny of the state. For the portfolios such a person has. I think I'm therefore turning your debate on the head.
Very true. And, it's a point that you've raised which definitely will invoke a larger debate. But having said that, as far as morality and the governor acting here is concerned, constitutionally and legally, we'll have to see whether it actually withstands scrutiny. Thanks very much, Kiran Bedi, for joining us here on India Today and sharing your view and your experience, really, as the Lieutenant Governor of neighbouring Puducherry. But let's talk about what's really happening here. Why is it that the DMK government is ready to take this battle to the courts? There are two essential points of which they're constantly stressing: that the sanction and consultation of the Chief Minister is necessary to dismiss a sitting minister in the cabinet. Besides that, and this is something we've been stressing on from the beginning of the show, the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. That too is required before any sort of decision like this is taken by the governor. So we'll see how this plays out. What's very clear is that this is just the beginning right now of the big fight between the governor and the government in Tamil Nadu. I'm slipping into a very short break here on 6 p.m. Prime. Coming up on the other side, we're getting you a report from Uttar Pradesh, where even as we've been seeing a crackdown on the mafia, Yogi Adityanath now has used land seized from mafia don Atik Ahmed to build apartments, flats for the underprivileged.
The India Today Group is pleased to announce the launch of a brand new online portal for our Best Colleges survey, featuring 6 years of ranking data as well as a wealth of granular information on thousands of institutes of higher learning. Our interactive portal offers easy access, analysis and guidance to our Best Colleges of India survey results for over 2,000 colleges across 14 streams. We invite everyone to visit our site bestcolleges.indiatoday.in and we wish aspiring students all the very best.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's push for a uniform civil code has left the opposition divided and confused, with most parties unable to take a clear stand on an issue that could become the BJP's calling card in the 2024 elections. The Congress and its allies like the DMK and National Conference are opposing the government's move.
ये मुल्क डाइवर्स है, इसमें हर किस्म के लोग रहते हैं, हर मजहब रहता है, हर जबान के लोग रहते हैं, हर सोच के लोग रहते हैं और मुसलमानों का अपना शरीयत लॉ है, उसकी तरफ भी इनको नजर रखनी चाहिए. इस पे बार-बार सोचें कि कहीं कोई तूफान ना आए.
ஆக மத பிரச்சனை அதிகமாக்கி நாட்டிலே குழப்பத்தை ஏற்படுத்தி வெற்றி பெற்று விடலாம் என்று அவர் கருதி கொண்டிருக்கிறார். நிச்சயமாக உறுதியாக வர இருக்கக்கூடிய நாடாளுமன்ற தேர்தலில் பாரதிய ஜனதா கட்சிக்கு சரியான பாடத்தை மக்கள் வழங்குவதற்கு தயாராகிவிட்டார்கள்.
In Maharashtra, former BJP ally and current Congress partner Shiv Sena UBT backs a uniform code, but wonders if it will end up hurting Hindus. Another UPA constituent, NCP, has cautioned against any hurry in framing the UCC.
Sikh Samaj, Christian Samaj, जैन समाज या तत्सम धर्मियांची भूमिका याच्यात काय आहे ते स्पष्ट होण्याची आवश्यकता आहे.
The Akali Dal, once a partner of the BJP, is opposed to a uniform code.
श्रोमणी अकाली दल इस पक्ष में नहीं है कि इसको लागू किया जाए. इससे माइनॉरिटीज है उनके सिविल राइट्स अफेक्ट होंगे. जो देश में ट्राइब्स हैं, कबीले हैं बहुत से नॉर्थ ईस्ट में और स्टेट्स में, वो इफेक्ट होंगे और इसमें एक तनाव का माहौल जो है वो देश में दोबारा बनेगा.
The Aam Aadmi Party is in agreement with the BJP on the need for a UCC, but wants consultations and consensus building.
देखिए, सैद्धांतिक रूप से हम यूसीसी का समर्थन करते हैं. आर्टिकल 44, आर्टिकल 44 वो भी ये कहती है कि यूसीसी होनी चाहिए.
Many political parties and groups representing the Muslim community have come out in the open to question the government's motive behind the proposal for UCC.
भारत के प्रधानमंत्री भारत की डाइवर्सिटी को, प्लुरलिज्म को एक प्रॉब्लम समझते. यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड की जब बात प्रधानमंत्री कर रहे हैं, वो यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड की नहीं बात कर रहे, वो हिंदू सिविल कोड की बात कर रहे.
The BJP has hit back at the opposition, holding them guilty of giving a communal color to the whole issue.
140 करोड़ जनता में एक समान है और अगर एक समान है तो एक नीति होनी चाहिए सभी. और ये तो संकल्प भारतीय जनता पार्टी की रही है और ये संकल्प संविधान में भी है.
Bureau Report, India Today.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mo.
Welcome back. Let's get you the big story coming in from Uttar Pradesh, where Yogi Adityanath has vowed a crackdown on mafia, sending out another clear message to them. He's crumbled the mafia empire and built an Aam Aadmi empire using land that was once owned by Atiq Ahmed, which was seized by authorities in Uttar Pradesh in Prayagraj to build 70 plus apartments for the underprivileged.
From bulldozers to encounters, the Yogi Adityanath government has pulled out all the stops to crush the mafia. The government says the results are there to see. CM Yogi Adityanath on Friday handed keys of 76 flats built on land confiscated from slain gangster turned politician Atiq Ahmed to the poor.
प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना के अंतर्गत 76 परिवारों को आज उनका आवास सौंपने का चाबी वितरण करने का एक पवित्र कार्यक्रम आज यहां संपन्न हो रहा है.
The complex is built on a 1,731 square meter plot in the Lukirganj area of the city. The affordable housing unit were constructed under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. The residential complex has 76 flats in 2 blocks, a community hall and a park. Ahead of the inauguration, CM Adityanath was seen interacting with children at the site.
प्रधानमंत्री ने हम लोग को छत दिया रहने के लिए, हर एक चीज़ की हमारी लोग की मदद की, गरीबों के लिए राशन दिया, लॉकडाउन में पूरा खाने के पूरा व्यवस्था किए, रहने के लिए छत दी. आज हमारा आत्मा बहुत खुश है सर.
मेरी मम्मी का सपना भी था और ये मेरा खुद का भी सपना था कि हमें मेरा खुद का मकान हो. आज 30 साल से किराए के मकान में रह रहे, दर दर की ठोकर खा रहे हर चीज़. इसलिए मैं योगी जी का जितना भी धन्यवाद करूं कम है.
Speaking on the occasion, the CM stressed on his government's policy of zero tolerance to organized crime being practiced since he came to power in 2017.
ये वही प्रदेश है जहां 2017 के पहले गरीबों की भूमि पर, व्यापारियों की भूमि पर, सरकारी भूमि पर कोई भी माफिया, कोई भी दबंग आकर के कब्जा कर लेता था, गरीब देखता रहता था. लेकिन अब उन्हीं माफिया और दबंगों से छुड़ाई गई भूमि पर गरीबों के लिए आशियाना बन रहे हैं, अच्छे भवन बन रहे हैं.
The Yogi government says it aims to vacate all illegal encroachments by the mafia and use the recovered land to provide housing for the poor. Bureau Report, India Today.
Slipping into a short break here on 6 p.m. Prime. Coming up on the other side, the latest updates on the monsoons coming your way.
The arrival of the monsoon has brought much misery and suffering for Mumbaikars. Tall claims of the Maharashtra government and the Brihan-Mumbai Municipal Corporation have fallen flat yet again. The monsoon story for Maximum City remains the same as ever. Madan Yadav, who works in the hotel industry, says he has stocked up food and medicine as he fears severe waterlogging if rains persist.
Every year we have certain days where there is, huge rainfall happening actually. So we have to really, have some backup at home. Maybe the food supplies and, medicines, all those things to be have stocked actually at home. So yes, we are following those guidelines also, keeping that in mind.
Mumbai's suburb Thane saw heavy waterlogging on Wednesday. Shantilal Beed, a hardware store owner, claims the situation remains unchanged from last year.
हम लोग 27 साल से इधर का धंधा कर रहे हैं। 27 साल से पानी भर रहा है। हर दिन का बारिश के टाइम हर दिन का तकलीफ है। कभी कभी रात को 1-2 बजे, 4 बजे, 5 बजे भी पानी भरता है तो आना पड़ता है। इसका कुछ उपाय होना चाहिए।
Vilas Fartate, a bus stop in charge, points out how waterlogging poses a threat to bus passengers, especially senior citizens.
बारिश में जो पानी पूरा भर जाता है और जब तक बारिश बंद नहीं होती तब तक पानी विड्रॉ होता ही नहीं है ऐसे। तो बहुत सी गाड़ी बाहर से और बाहर रुकना पड़ता है, पैसेंजर को अंदर आने को नहीं मिलता है।
In Kalyan, water entered houses in low-lying areas. The Durga Housing Society is among the worst hit.
कल हम खुद से सुबह से लेकर शाम तक प्रशासन के पास जाते हैं। कल इधर जो केडीएमसी के अधिकारी है, आयुक्त से लेकर सब नीचे वाले दर्जे के जो अधिकारी आके गए, लेकिन खाली आ रहे, देख रहे, फोटो निकल रहे, जा रहे। कल आए 2-4 चेंबर ओपन करे, लेकिन उनको जो रिक्वायरमेंट हमने की थी, जो पम्पिंग की पंप जो लाने के लिए बोला गया वो उन्होंने लाया नहीं। बाकायदा उनके पास है ही नहीं, ऐसे उन्होंने खुद बताया है।
The Met Department warns Mumbai and nearby areas could face even more intense rainfall.
Rains will gradually increase in the state in the next few days. But if traffic congestion, water logging, landslides and potholes weren't enough, Mumbai will now face water cut as well, because there hasn't been enough rainfall in the catchment areas. With camera person Siddesh Asgekar, this is Pankaj Upadhyay in Mumbai, reporting for India Today.
Quality today. In Delhi, 11. In Mumbai, 31. In Kolkata, 45. In Bangalore, 56. In Chennai, 23. In Hyderabad, 19. Air quality today. In Delhi, 11. In Mumbai, 31. In Kolkata, 45. In Bangalore, 56. In Chennai, 23. In Hyderabad, 19.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today Newsmo.
After spells of heavy rain in the national capital, let's get you images coming in from the heart of Delhi. This is from ITO in the Secretariat that you're seeing scenes of inundation right now. And if this is the situation in the Secretariat, you can only imagine how bad it is in other parts of Delhi. The building where Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal is seated is inundated. The entry towards the building closed up at this point because of the flooding. And as you can see, employees making their way out are struggling right now. And it's a similar story in several parts of the national capital, as there have been heavy rains through the last 24 hours. And with that update, I'm slipping into a short break here on 6 p.m. Prime. On the other side, we're getting you a news break on Russian President Vladimir Putin speaking to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They've had a detailed phone conversation. What was discussed, we'll tell you in just a bit.
Mark Zuckerberg honing his mixed martial arts skills, sharpening his jujutsu moves, getting ready to take on Elon Musk. It's not just the rumored threats. A microblogging platform, Meta, is developing as a rival to Twitter. The two tech billionaires are, if reports are to be believed, getting ready for a caged fight. It all started last week with Elon Musk responding to a tweet about Meta working on a Project 92 to challenge Twitter. Elon's response? He was up to a caged match if Zuckerberg was. The dare was immediately accepted by Zuckerberg, who took to his own platform, Instagram, to respond, putting the ball back in Musk's court. The next few days were filled by taunts from the Tesla CEO, even asking the Meta founder to go full MMA, leaving netizens salivating over a tech billionaire showdown. Musk also hinted the caged match could be at celebrated Las Vegas fighting venue, the Octagon. He then tweeted, "I have this great move that I call the walrus, where I just lie on top of my opponent and do nothing." Head to head, the two opponents could not be more different. Musk towers over Zuckerberg's 5 feet 8 inch frame by more than 5 inches. Musk is also much heavier than Zuckerberg. But the Twitter owner is also 13 years older than the Facebook prodigy. Musk is twice as rich as Zuckerberg, but is a novice in MMA, while Zuckerberg is a trained jujutsu fighter. Musk, it seems, is not taking the challenge lying down. He already started training with Lex Friedman, who posted images of the sessions on Twitter and commented that he was extremely impressed with Musk's strength, power and skill on the feet and on the ground. Musk also seemed to be in talks with the legendary UFC coach Georges St-Pierre for some training sessions ahead of the purported caged fight. Though the jury is still out on whether the challenge is real or just limited to online sparring, the highly competitive nature of the two entrepreneur geniuses will ensure the entertainment lasts for some time. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Quality today. In Delhi, 11. In Mumbai, 31. In Kolkata, 45. In Bangalore, 56. In Chennai, 23. In Hyderabad, 19. Air quality today. In Delhi, 11. In Mumbai, 31. In Kolkata, 45. In Bangalore, 56. In Chennai, 23. In Hyderabad, 19.
All political parties traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political back.
she takes the news by its horns.
Do you think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
Welcome back. Let's get you a news break coming in of a conversation that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin have had over the phone. Now, there's a statement that's been put out by Kremlin that refers to this conversation, and it says that there was a mention of Ukraine as well. We're awaiting an official statement from the Indian government, but Prime Minister Modi and Putin have had a detailed conversation, is what we're being told right now. And we'll get you the details from the Indian government of what was discussed. What's the takeaway of this particular conversation? But interesting to also highlight that just about 24 hours ago, you had the Russian president heaping praise on Prime Minister Modi and the Make in India initiative kicked off by the Prime Minister. Let's play out that particular statement, that comment from Russian President Putin.
About the products that are made in Russia. Our friends in India, the Prime Minister Modi, Prime Minister Modi is a good friend of Russia as well. He presented an entire concept several years ago that was called Made in India, and they did achieve some very palpable results for India with that project. So,
Horrifying images coming in from Paris of the arson, the violence that's broken out as people have taken to the streets. And a fallout of that violence is one of the most popular football clubs in the world. PSG's coach has been arrested for allegedly making Islamophobic comments.
Protesters have hit the streets in France. There's widespread arson and unrest as one of the modern democracies finds itself battling against racist discrimination. The matter goes beyond politics and it has reached the game of football. Facing allegations of making discriminatory, racist and Islamophobic comments, PSG manager Christophe Galtier has been arrested.
Je suis profondément choqué par les propos que l'on me prête et qui ont été relayés par certains de manière irresponsable. Il me heurte au plus profond de mon humanité.
The comments attributed to him were allegedly made by him during his time as manager of Nice Football Club. But Galtier stands his ground and is ready to take the legal route to prove his innocence.
Je ne peux accepter que mon nom et ma famille soient salis de la sorte. J'ai donc décidé d'attaquer en justice quiconque porte atteinte à mon honneur.
As the probe gets deeper, several high-profile players and senior officials of Nice have been called for investigation. Galtier is all set to lose his job at PSG, and matters could become worse for him if he is found guilty. Sports Bureau, India Today.
That's all we have time for in this edition of 6 p.m. Prime. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up on the other side is Mission 2024 with Preeti Chaudhary. She's going to run you through what's happening in Manipur. Is Biren Singh resigning or is he not? We'll get you details in just a bit.
Siddaramaiah government during the election campaign, when it was in the opposition, said we will give 10 kilos of rice. Now you've decided 5 kilos of rice and we will give a certain amount in a cash component. Do you agree that maybe you should have done possibly the maths before you decided 10 kilos of rice, or are you only going to blame the center and the Food Corporation of India?
So our basic understanding or the commitment to supply was based on the FCI's commitment towards us. So the availability of the rice in the FCI godowns is very well known. It's on record. The only reason they have refused to supply it to us is not justifiable. If you can see the chronology of events, once the FCI says it has sufficient stock and it would supply, later it rescinds it. The Food and Civil Supply Minister of the state approaches the Central Minister to discuss about the same. He refuses to meet. He avoids and he has so many excuses. Thereby, in one way, they make the FCI to rescind the contract. It's a breach of obligation or a contract or a commitment for the FCI. The union government would have said at least to the FCI, look into the same. If there is an availability, kindly see that the people should not suffer. Let there be any political difference between BJP or a Congress